What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be taking a deeper dive into more NBA prospects for the NBA draft, and today I'm going to talk about EJ Liddell from Ohio State. Hopefully I said his name right, but regardless, today I'm going to be talking about whether or not it'd be a good thing or a bad thing to take EJ Liddell at the 18th overall pick for the Chicago Bulls. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bull Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below whether or not you think this would be a good or bad move for the Chicago Bulls. Do you think it's a risky move as well? Because I believe his draft projection is actually towards mid to late first round, potentially even the second round if teams decide to sleep on him. So very, very interesting topic of discussion here. But at the end of the day, there are some very good things that I like about him, and I wouldn't be too afraid to take him with the 18th overall pick. It might be a bit ballsy in my opinion, but there's still good qualities that I do like about him. But his game is far from perfect when it comes to translating from college to the NBA level. So, first thing I have to admire, as I said about Mark Williams when I talked about him, he decided to stay 3 years in Ohio State, which again, I like a guy that wants to continue his career in college. I like a guy that makes the hard decisions, turns down the money offers straight away to continue to work on his game to make sure he'll be ready when the pros call upon him. So, I always feel like that's a good move in my opinion, especially if you're not ready. If you know you're not ready, you shouldn't be going into the pros just so you can get money and not really be ready for the NBA pros, and that could kind of ruin your career in many ways. So I do respect a guy that is willing to make that tough decision, and I think he did that as well. Obviously, there's a conversation, and there are many people that say the longer that you're in the college, the longer you're in college, the higher you can actually get in terms of your development in the NBA from straight away. Obviously, long-term development is a different discussion, and that's really unpredictable. But you'll be more ready now when you enter the NBA, when you're staying in college for 2-3 years. So we could see an instant impact from EJ Liddell in the NBA as soon as he gets selected, whichever team decides to give him a chance. Playing 32 games for Ohio State, ladies and gentlemen, his season averages was 19.4 points per game, 7.9 rebounds, 2.5 assists, shooting 49% from the field and 37.4% from the three-point line. In the end, from his best season, in my opinion, for Ohio State this year, without a shadow of a doubt. He did have a fairly decent year last year as well, but major improvements in almost every single way. And again, if you're looking for a rim protector type of player, maybe he might not be the best because he's not necessarily a center. Maybe he can play small ball center from time to time, but he's a very decent help defender, and he averages 2.6 blocks per game for Ohio State. So that's a very interesting stat. I want to take a deeper dive into his positives and negatives because I do feel like there's a few out there that we can discuss. What I like about him, he's kind of an old school player. He's a player that when I look at him, I see him as a post player, a post presence, which is very good. I do like the ability for him to make a mid-range when he's entered the post or from a pick and pop. He does remind me of an old school type of power forward, like a Thaddeus Young, let's say, as well. I'm not going to compare him to Thaddeus Young because Thaddeus Young has been in the league for a long time. He's a very developed player. EJ Liddell is not that developed in terms of his offense and his defense. He obviously has some good traits in both avenues, but he reminds me of an old school player. He looks physically tough, physically strong. He's able to bully individuals in the post, and he's able to take mid-ranges over them. He's able to obviously score in the paint because of that as well. He does get to the foul line a fair few amount of times. He does make a good share of them as well at 76.5% from the free throw line. Something you love to see for a guy that gets to the foul line constantly. So there are qualities of an old school level player, in my opinion, when it comes to EJ Liddell and how he plays. There are a couple of weaknesses as well, but let's continue with the positives. I do like that he does play a little bit bigger than what he actually is. Again, he's 6'7", 240 pounds. So if you're looking for a small ball center, I probably wouldn't necessarily pick EJ Liddell, to be honest, despite him playing bigger than he is. I think we need to kind of steer away from small ball constantly, all the time, all day, every day. I do feel like adding size is a necessity, and the fact that his main positions are a power forward and a center for Ohio State, at a force at times, but mainly a power forward, that is definitely something that's a bit concerning because we already kind of have that team that does that from time to time when it comes to Patrick Williams playing at the power forward position. You even throw DeMar DeRozan at times in the power forward position. I think he's physically stronger and he could potentially play that position well. But I wouldn't necessarily put that as the primary thing for the Chicago Bulls, a need for the Chicago Bulls. I think size is very important for us. At 6'7", I think he can do the job, but maybe other people will be looking elsewhere in terms of trying to get a bigger guy that can play at the power forward position or potentially the center position for the Chicago Bulls. But he does play bigger than he is, and that's because of his physical strength. That's because he can bully people in the post. So I do like that about him as well. I think that's a good trait to have. And if he can translate that into the NBA level, I think there will be many teams they'll find it difficult to guard a guy like EJ Liddell. He's a decent passer of the ball as well. 2.5 assists for a power forward, in my opinion, is a very good stat to have, especially in college, because that can be an asset in the NBA. You can translate your passing game into the NBA. You can even improve upon it from time to time as well. So I do like that he is a willing passer. He's a very intelligent player as well, in my opinion. So he does have that ability to translate over into the NBA level. And again, from the passing out of the post is very important. It's something that I like when Vucevic does it. And if EJ Liddell is on the Chicago Bulls team and he's in the post and he's trying to make some post plays from there, being able to pass out of the post is a very, very good thing to have, in my opinion. He's a tough player. I've already mentioned that. He's a good help defender. Now, this is the biggest attribute out of all of them for EJ Liddell. As much as we need size, as much as we need a rim protector and a shot blocker, something we need so, in my opinion, just as much, if not a little bit more, is help defenders. We have very few help defenders on the bigger side of the ball for the Chicago Bulls. Patrick Williams is someone that's still trying to learn how to really be in the right spots when it comes to being a help defender. And a bunch of other guys simply don't even want to be a help defender on this team. It results in fouls, it results in late rotations and stuff of that nature. And it's an awful, awful time for the Chicago Bulls. And it's one of the bigger reasons why we're the worst defense in the NBA at the later parts of the season. He's a very good help defender, and that shows in his shot blocking ability because he is most of the time getting those shot blocks from being a help defender. He's the type of guy, in my opinion, maybe if you pair him up with Vucevic in the starting lineup, I think he can help cover Vucevic's weaknesses from time to time when it comes to in the paint defense. I think he can help with that. But all in all, that's a very big attribute to him. And it's why, again, if we went with EJ Liddell as the power forward option for the Chicago Bulls in the future, that's something that I think could be a very big asset. So we'll have to wait and see. He's probably not my first choice. I'll get to that a little bit later. But if we did bring him in, I think that's a huge asset that the Chicago Bulls can have on their team. That's a very good thing about him. And obviously, he has the ability to make the mid-range shot. He's improved a lot from his pick and pop situations as well. Not necessarily that we're using that a lot from the power forward position. We mainly use that with Vucevic. So I don't see EJ Liddell taking a lot of those positions and a lot of those pick and pop opportunities. But it's good to know when we do give him an opportunity from that position, he may be able to make those mid-range and potential three-point shots as well. Those are all the positives about EJ Liddell in terms of the college game into the NBA game. But there's something I do have to say. There's a very good chance that not everything that I talked about in terms of his positives will translate to the college game, or to the NBA game, I should say, because you've got to understand the NBA are full of much bigger players, much stronger players, and fully defined players as well. EJ Liddell at 21 years old coming into the NBA as a power forward. If you're versing bigger lineups, I don't see him doing particularly well because his game relies on toughness. His game relies on the post presence. His game relies on a lot of things that revolves around physicality. If you find a player that's more physical than EJ Liddell in the NBA, which there is a good chance you will, I think he can struggle in those instances. So that's something that he's going to have to develop over time. It's going to be a long-term project with EJ Liddell. His efficiency is a bit poor as well. I feel like out of all of his college years, he hasn't necessarily hit the 50% from the field mark. For a guy that's a power forward in the post, can potentially shoot the mid-range shots and stuff like that, you expect EJ Liddell to be better efficiency-wise, and he hasn't been that for Ohio State. He is someone that can fall to pump fakes. I feel like a lot of young players will fall to this as well. That's one of the things that, looking at all the websites, reading about him, he does fall a lot into pump fakes, which means thankfully he won't be guarding DeMar DeRozan if he's on this team, but that's definitely something he needs to work on. He does get into foul trouble as well. Very, very important for EJ Liddell to stop in this team because we have a bunch of teammates, a bunch of players that foul on this team. We don't necessarily need to add another one. Undersized as a power forward and potential small ball center. At the end of the day, our whole team went through this as well. So adding another player that fits that mold and is undersized and potentially could get bullied in the NBA level is something I think we should stay away from. As a power forward, I don't think it'll be too bad, but if we're going to use him as an undersized center, I think that creates a lot of difficulties. He may be the biggest, I guess, small ball center that we have because we use Derrick Jones Jr. at that position, and I think that's way too small. I think it's a little bit bigger if you go with EJ Liddell. He is a little bit more physically already, I guess, built for that position. But I do feel like we should be straying away from small ball just a little bit. I'm not saying completely get rid of it, but I don't think we necessarily think we should be drafting for a small ball lineup. I think we have a decent small ball lineup already. We need to add size instead of adding very similar players. And that's really it in terms of the negatives for EJ Liddell. So I guess the question is now, would I take him with the 18th overall pick? I think it's going to be a bit ballsy if we take him with the 18th overall pick. His projection states he's supposed to be a second round pick, late first round pick. Maybe you can get him in the middle where we are. But at the end of the day, I think it's a big risk considering there are probably other options out there that might be better suited to what the Chicago Bulls need. I really do love the fact that he's a good help defender though. That's something I can't take my eyes off of when you look at him. If he's going to be able to bring that to the Chicago Bulls team, I feel like that's a necessity just as much as adding size, just as much as adding good on-board defenders, good one-on-one defenders and all of that. You can speak about defense all you like. Help defense is an essential part of the Chicago Bulls, especially when we don't have the best center at the moment that is guarding in the paint. So you got to have good help defenders, and I feel like that's very important. So let's just say if we pick EJ Liddell with the 18th overall pick, I wouldn't be mad at it. I would say it's a player that we have to give time, patience, and we're going to have to develop him. He's not going to be an already made player, even though he will be 21 years old coming into the NBA. You might get a little bit more out of him than what you'd expect from other guys that are younger than him, but it is a guy that you're going to have to develop. It is a guy you're going to have to wait on getting more weight on, getting more physicality into his game. You're not going to get the already defined product as of yet. He will come off the bench for the Chicago Bulls as well, most likely. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be upset, nor would I be surprised. I just think there are so many other options out there, from guards to forwards to centers, that we should be looking at. And the fact that he's projected towards the second round, late first, I think that would be a bit ballsy. But if AK feels like he's the best available or he fits a certain need, then I'm all for it. But he's not my first choice. Out of the two videos I made, I still believe Mark Williams is the first choice I would go with at the moment. But as we make more videos about this, we will continue to discuss. That could potentially change as well. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.